Brian, you have a quorum and you are live on YouTube. You are ready to roll.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Today is January 20th, and we are meeting Board of Zoning Appeals. Tonight, I have with me board members Greg Deck and Jim Stauffer, both attending by remote video, as well as myself, Brian Kritika, chair of the board. With us from the city, we have Steve Bachmiller, the zoning administrator, and Deb Calhoun, our secretary and assistant to the board. And let's see, we've got Mike Schiffler and Clint Rock on for the appellant, I take it. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, great. Do we have any preliminary administrative matters, Steve?
We have election of officers.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
You have elections of officers.
Elections of officers. Okay. So anybody can put their name in the hat in the ring for the chair. Or you can nominate someone.
Well, Brian, I'd like to nominate you as our chair.
I'm happy to do it. And do I hear a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, unanimous. Thank you. I also see that we have a hearing schedule. Do we have to vote and approve that?
I guess, yes.
Okay, has everybody seen the schedule for this year that Debbie sent out?
I have.
Okay, any issues or problems with any of those dates? I noticed that February and September look like they're a little different than normal, but
They are due to, I believe, Ash Wednesday falls on your meeting night in February, and they're probably Yom Kippur or Rosh Hashanah in September. One of those, there was a conflict.
okay. Let's see, we've got another person who's joined us.
Hello, this is Elise Cohen. I'm not sure if I'm part of Hagerstown Commerce Center for the sign
Okay, great.
variance. Yes, I think Clint from Fox or Mike Schiffler from Fox should also be on.
They are.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay.
Sorry for joining a moment late.
That's all right. Thanks for joining us. We're just doing some preliminary administrative items. So Jim and Greg, if we're all in accord with the schedule, we'll have to hope that the other two members are as well. But I believe that we should just go ahead and approve this. If I have a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
And a second.
I will second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. So the schedule is approved for next year. All right, now on to our first and only case tonight, Z 2020-12. Mr. Bachmiller, if you could give us the summary for this.
Yes, this is case Z 2020-12. The applicant is Hagerstown Commerce Center Incorporated. Property is located in the CG Commercial General Zoning District. Property is located at 89 All-Star Court. The request is for a variance to increase the height of a freestanding sign to 70 feet. This application is being made for the reason that under Article 4, Section I-5A, the maximum height of a freestanding sign is 35 feet in the CG zoning district. Deadline for written decision is March 6th. This is a variance application. You do have the authority to entertain height variances for signs. You use the 6 standard criteria for variances found in the ordinance. Those are outlined on pages 1 and pages 2 of your staff report. And we have received no comments from any other review bodies or agencies.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve. And before we begin here taking testimony, I'll just go real quick through our Order of procedure today, the cases we hear are based on general and specific criteria as enumerated in the City of Hagerstown Land Management Code. This is an administrative proceeding. As such, it will be conducted just as if we were in a court of law, except that we will not follow as strictly the rules of evidence. Everyone who wishes to be heard on a particular case will be. Each of the cases will be heard in the order filed with the board. We only have one tonight. The procedure is that I will first hear from the applicant, then any and all witnesses in favor of the application, then any and all witnesses in opposition to the application, and then if necessary, we'll have final remarks and rebuttal if necessary from the applicant. We'll take the case under advisement. We will deliberate after we have all the testimony tonight, most likely, and then we will most likely also vote tonight. A decision is due within 45 days from tonight's hearing, or from when we actually render our judgment, that is. And then you're welcome to stay and listen to those deliberations and our decision if we reach one tonight, but we won't hear any other testimony. Discussion is limited to just the board members and the staff. You have the right to appeal within 30 days from the day that the written decision and order is issued by the board. And any party who participated in the hearing is aggrieved by the decision may appeal to the circuit court at that once the written decision is issued, and for 30 days thereafter. We have only two rules we ask everyone to follow. The first is that the only remarks we'll consider are the ones that are given by the witness under oath, and I will administer the oath before taking any testimony. And then I'll ask you the witness to confine your statement to things that are pertinent to the matter. All right. So we now have, I'll take testimony from the applicant. Who's going to be speaking first?
That would be me.
Okay. Mr. Rock, I'm going to ask you to listen to the following and respond accordingly. Do you solemnly promise and declare under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you are about to give this board shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. All right, you may go ahead.
As Steve mentioned, the application this evening is for a variance on a freestanding sign proposed to be located at 89 All-Star Court. It would be the future home of Fairfield Inn and Suites, which is currently under construction. If you're driving east on the dual highway, it can become evident that the visibility of the sign may be an issue due to topography on the dual highway. Their existing Hagerstown Commerce Center is approximately 36 feet high and doesn't come into view to eastbound traffic until you're within 500 feet of the subject site. For that reason, we're requesting the variance from section 1.5.A of Article 4 of the Land Management Code, limiting the height of the sign to 35 feet. We're requesting a variance of 35 feet, increasing the permitted sign height to 70 feet. I guess I'll go into the 6 points outlined under variances, but first I'd like to point out under item F, I did have a slight typographical error. Well, I shouldn't say slight. It's noted that it would be a 15-foot increase that should correctly read 35 feet. Through those criteria, explain the unique physical conditions associated with your property and how compliance with the strict letter of the regulations would unreasonably prevent the owner from using the property for a permitted purpose, or would render conformity with such restriction unnecessarily burdensome. Again, the topography on the dual highway does create a visibility issue from any distance greater than 500 feet. If you refer to the exhibits that were submitted with the application, that should be illustrated on there. And it will also illustrate that a 70-foot high sign would be visible from a distance as much as 1,500 feet. Which would improve roadway safety and visibility, which I'll get into under item F. B, explain how the requested variance are the minimum reasonably necessary to overcome the conditions described in A above. The site distance of 1,500 feet is considered to be a reasonable decision site distance per the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials. So increasing the visibility to that distance would ensure more safety on the dual highway, as motorists would have more time to choose their lane and decelerate to enter the site on the All-Star Court. C, explain how enforcement of the provision from which the variance is requested would deprive the property owner of uses commonly enjoyed by other similar properties in the same district. Restricting the sign height to 35 feet as allowed in the land management code would hinder the visibility of the proposed sign, may result in potential loss of business for the hotel, which is currently under construction, as we mentioned. There are also 2 pad-ready sites on the property, and reducing the visibility of this sign may have some negative impact on the marketability of those pad sites. D, explain how the variance requested will not confer special treatment on the applicant. As we mentioned, the variance is requested based on topographic restraints, which are unique to this subject and the subject site and surrounding area. As such, I don't feel granting a variance would suggest any preferential treatment on the applicant, Hagerstown Commerce Center Incorporated. E, explain how the property owner or applicant has not created the conditions that they now used as justification for seeking the variance. Again, it's based on the topography of the dual highway, which obviously is, out of the control of the appellant here. And F, explain how the requested variance will not be contrary to the intent of the zoning ordinance, will not be injurious to the neighborhood or public welfare. The intent of Article 4 of the Land Management Code is to provide conditions that promote public safety and protect the aesthetics of the community. Given the surrounding area of the subject site, I don't feel that increasing the permitted height of the proposed sign by 35 feet would be detrimental to the appearance of the area. Closest residence to the sign is approximately 600 feet and is screened by an existing wooded area. And also regarding public safety, as I mentioned, by increasing the visibility of the sign and offering motorists more of an opportunity to, again, select their lane and prepare to turn would be an improvement on public safety on the dual highway, as notice speeds are well in excess of the posted speed limit. So for those reasons, we request your consideration on the variance application this evening.
Thank you. Any questions for this witness?
I have no questions.
Okay. I noticed that in your petition, you're asking for an increase of 35 feet to the existing sign. Is that 35 to the existing sign? Or
No, this would be a new freestanding sign on a separate lot. We used a 36-foot existing sign as a reference, as that's a bit in excess of what the land management code currently allows in that zoning district.
Okay. Okay. So we're 35 above the maximum foot height, sign height in the ordinance. So you're going to 70.
Correct.
Now, Steve, maybe I have an older version of the code, but I'm looking at it and it says the maximum sign height is 30 for a freestanding sign. Has that been adjusted?
I think we did make some changes last year. What's the date on your ordinance?
Good question. I am looking at an effective date of June 14th, 2019.
That's out of date.
Out of date. Okay. I need to get the newest one. All right. So it's 35. So 70 is twice that height. All right.
Double check it, just make sure it's on the record here.
Yeah.
Stand by. Freestanding signs in the CG zoning district, 30 feet.
30.
Oh, wait a minute, it's CG, CR on a 4-lane road or road right of way, 100 feet or more wide is 35 feet.
Okay, I don't
We
see.
added that second one
You
last.
added that. Okay. Okay.
Basically, if you're on a road like Dole Highway, you gave an extra 5 feet.
Okay, great. Okay. And this, Mr. Rock, this sign is going to be behind, in front of, next to the Hagerstown Commerce sign? It's hard to tell from the pictures.
The existing Hagerstown Commerce sign is on Lot 1, which is on the east side of All-Star Court. The proposed sign that we're discussing right now would be on Lot A, which is the west side of All-Star Court. It would be
Okay.
directly opposite the existing sign.
Okay.
The lot directly opposite, excuse me.
Okay, and so is that in front of, as you're headed east?
Yes.
Okay, so in front of, but not directly in front of, just,
No.
yeah, I mean, your pole's not going to be blocking their sign or anything. It's just going to be in front of. Okay. Okay. And let's see. And you've given us some pictures that appear to show varying sight distances along dual highway traveling east. To show that the proposed sign would stick out a little bit above the trees and the telephone poles, and certainly above the knoll that's there, the grassy knoll.
Brian, that does raise a question in my mind. Does the sign have to be positioned in front of the pole?
I thought the same thing too, and I couldn't tell if that was, this sign has been superimposed on
Or behind the
so
pole?
it's, yeah, I can't tell. It looks, Mr. Rock, it looks as though I'm looking at, let's see. These pages aren't numbered, but there's a picture that's on one that says view on US 40 East, 500 feet from the proposed sign. I think that's the second page that came over. Proposed 70-foot tall sign, view at driver height. And it's the 500-foot site.
Yes.
Okay. It looks as though almost that sign is sitting like, the bottom picture looks like it's sitting almost right on top of the phone pole. And if you go to the second one, the 1,000-foot, it looks like it's over a little bit from the pole. And then the 1,500-foot view, the pole is somewhat obscured by some trees, but you can see the freestanding sign, the proposed sign sticking up above the trees. Given that these pictures appear to have been taken, again, it's hard to tell whether it's from the right-hand lane or the left-hand lane as you're traveling east.
Brian, this is Mike Schiffler. If you can
Yeah.
clear me in, I can help you with that a little bit.
Sure, I will do that, Mike. Thanks. Sorry, I could have gotten both you guys at the same time. My apologies. Okay, Mike, do you solemnly promise and declare under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give this board shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, if you could fill us in. I'll get your names and addresses when you're done.
We actually have our in-house survey of the entire length of the dual highway from Edgewood Drive to the interstate. So we were able to use that topographic survey for the 3D modeling. The imagery is coming in from Google Street View. So the picture in each case would be from the white striped center line of the road, okay, at each point in location, which explains a little bit difference in horizontal shift as you approach in relationship to the pole. Okay.
All right. And I think that in response to Greg's concern and mine, certainly from 1,500 feet, there's not a whole lot you can do. Those trees may come into play and obscure the sign if it's not that high. But from the 1,000-foot and the 500-foot, it's plenty high as you're traveling east. So I guess if we're using 1,500 foot as the what I would call what Clint referred to as the decision site distance for avoidance and lane changes and all that stuff, kind of the standard. Now, certainly dual highway is not a 55-mile-an-hour road. I think the posted speed there is 45.
That's correct.
From Edgewood up to this location.
Yeah, Brian, this is Mike Schiffler speaking. That's correct. However, normal design guidelines for highways, especially dual IS roads, interstates and such, are 10 miles over the speed limit. So that's why the 55 speed limit was selected in this case.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And are your sight distances only coming into play on dual highway, or is this sign going to be visible from 70? Is that also part of your consideration?
Actually, I don't know that it's going to be more readily visible than 70 from 35 feet or 70 feet high, because the 70 is kind of depressed through there. There's trees along the roadway and such. So certainly at some points along 70 westbound, you may be able to see it. The positioning of the sign is going to be, if you're coming eastbound on 70, almost looking into the end of the sign. So I don't know how visible really that's going to look. Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. And then for the record, Clint, if you can give your full name and address for the record, please.
Certainly. Clint Rock, 981 Mount Etna Road, Hagerstown, Maryland.
And Mike, you too.
Mike Schiffler, 981 Mount Etna Road, Hagerstown, Maryland.
Thanks. Okay. All right. So taking a look at the criteria that we have for this, I just want to make sure that your summary that you gave us touches on these. We've got unique condition, minimum necessary compliance. All right. And just for the record, the sign is going to meet the square footage requirements as well, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions or issues to raise. Ms. Cohn, do you have anything to add? Do you want to be sworn in?
No, I think, Mike and Clint really covered everything. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, and then let's see. I see an iPhone attendant as well, attendee. Can you unmute and let us know who's showing up as iPhone?
Yeah, it might be me. It's Aaron.
And are you testifying in favor, against, or just?
No, I'm part of the board. Aaron Smith.
Oh, Aaron, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I had a hard time getting on, so I was a few
That's
minutes
all
late.
right. Okay, you're here. Good.
Yeah.
Did you hear all the testimony?
Yes, I did. Yep.
Okay, good. All right. Okay. So if there's nothing else, and if there's nobody on in opposition, I'll give one last chance. Mike, Clint, Elise, do you want to say anything else?
Nothing else, and thank you for your time this evening. For Mike.
All right.
Likewise, thank you.
Agreed.
Okay. All right. We will. And have we received anything in writing from anyone? Steve? No, nothing in writing. Okay. So we will close the taking of testimony and we'll proceed to deliberate on this. So let's go through our variances criteria. We have unique condition of property. Due to exceptional narrowness, shallowness, shape, topographical conditions, or other unusual situations or conditions peculiar to a specific parcel of property or the use of the property. Strict application would result in peculiar, unusual practical difficulties or undue hardship upon the owner of the property. The applicant has provided some test. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I should have done this. Clint, you wanted the pictures and the chart of the speed, the decision site distances. Did you want those placed into the record?
They were submitted as part of the application. If you feel they're useful in your deliberation, by all means.
Yeah. Okay. We'll if there's no objection from the other board members, we'll go ahead and admit the pictures consisting of 1, 2, 3, 4 pages dated November 23rd, 2020, prepared by Fox and Associates. We've got the decision site distance chart from, it looks like it's Elements of Design is up in the upper right-hand corner. So we'll get those in there too. Let everybody know we're relying on those during our deliberation. So they presented the topography and other conditions along Dole Highway. There's the trees that are there. There's the existing telephone pole or poles. There may have been more than one as you travel from 1,500 feet up. And the fact that that's insufficient, a set 35 foot would be insufficient for their sign to be visible beyond that, the grassy knoll, the trees and the telephone pole. And it appears from the sketches that they've provided for us, the 3D sketches, that 70 feet would place it above all of those conditions and topography such that the sign could be seen from 1,500 feet away. And it looks from one or more of the pictures that would be the minimum height that would be necessary for it to be visible above the trees at 1,500 feet. So it does appear, there do appear to be unique physical conditions such that at least traveling from the west to the east, it would make any smaller of a sign difficult to be visible and still provide safe decision distance for persons who may want to utilize the hotel and at that location. B is we have to explain how the variance requested is the minimum reasonably necessary to overcome the unusual conditions. And I think I just went over that. Their pictures do show that appears to be the minimum that would be needed to clear the height of the trees. Now, hope those trees don't grow too fast. Because if you're putting them right above the maximum height now, you may be having to ask somebody to trim some trees. But currently that seems to be a sufficient distance and is the minimum necessary. Our third criterion is compliance would preclude common use. The literal interpretation of the provisions would deprive the applicant of uses commonly enjoyed by other similar properties. And I think that it's clear that other properties that would be presented with the similar topographic utility and trees that would block signs and allow prevent motorists from making safe decisions from 1,500 feet would deprive the applicant of the uses commonly enjoyed by such properties. Criterion 4, no special privilege. Granting the variance will not confer on the applicant any special privilege denied by the article to other lands or structures with the same zoning. And again, I think that the unique topographic and other conditions of this property, if somebody were to come to us with that type of situation, they would be treated in a similar manner. They would be requesting a variance, and it's likely that it would be granted if their signs were also obscured. Self-created hardship is criterion number 5. Obviously the applicant did not plant the trees, did not put in the utility poles, and did not create the grassy knoll several yards away from All-Star Corridor. So I don't think this is a hardship that they created. And then criterion 6 finally, is it consistent with the intent of the ordinance? Is granting the variance going to be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the article? And will that granting not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare? We are talking about a commercial site. We are talking about a unique topographic and other condition blockage in front of the right there at All-Star Court as you approach from the west. And I don't think this is going to be injurious to the neighborhood. Certainly, it's just a sign. It doesn't provide anything really other than an aesthetic issue and potentially a light pollution issue. The ordinance already describes the type of lighting that's to be used in a sign like this. And aesthetically, there are other signs in the area along Dual Highway on both sides that are of various heights. And this one, if granted at 70 feet, it's taller than some others, but it's not, I don't think it would be injurious. And if there were people who thought that it would be, I would hope that they would spend some time providing us with their testimony, but they have not. So I'm not going to presume injury where no one is here to provide me with any or provide us with any. And is it in harmony with the general purpose? I think we've shown, the applicant has shown that this is something that is technically appropriate. It is visually appropriate for safe driving and decision-making on Dual Highway. It is the minimum necessary, and it does provide, it is being done in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance. Greg, Jim, do you have any comments on any other criteria, questions, concerns?
I do, but it's unrelated to the sign height. And I guess, Steve, I have to direct this to you. Is there a setback requirement for the sign?
No,
No setback requirement.
we do not have setback requirements for signs.
I noticed in view 2, the location looks like it's very close to the roadway is the only reason I brought that up.
The only requirement is it has to be kept out of the street right away. It has to be kept on their property.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, Jim?
No.
Good to go. All right. Then I will entertain a motion whether to grant or deny the applicant's request.
I will make a motion to grant the request.
Okay. I guess before, are there any conditions of any kind? I can't think of any, other than they comply generally with the requirements for signs in the ordinance. And if they deviate in any way, they've got to come back to us for approval. So, Greg, would you amend to include those two things?
I would amend to include that, yes.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Aaron. All right, the application is approved. The variance is granted. Mr. Bachmiller will prepare a draft of the decision and order, and it will be sent to the board for review within the time frame indicated. I believe we said that it was due by March 6th. So we should have it before then, and then we will get it out to the applicant. And if anybody has any objections, you've got 30 days from the date of the order, the decision and order to file an appeal. All right. With that, we'll close this hearing. Thank you very much. Appreciate your
Thank you.
attendance.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so
We
much.
appreciate it.
Okay.
Sure.
Steve, Debbie, anything else before we shut down?
No.
No, good.